One of the funniest things about going to South Africa was the very first night when we got off the plane, because I didn't actually know what to expect.
There's a conversation between a couple of faculty members. I was thinking about experiences for undergraduate students, and Erica Smithwick was talking about research possibilities in Mozambique and in a nature reserve. And so we sort of combined forces and thought this could be a great experience for students, and talked to people at University of Cape Town about whether they'd be interested in joining in, and that's what got the discussion started. As it turned out, the Mozambique idea didn't work out. There were problems with working in the park that we were interested in. And so we were again talking with people at UCT, University of Cape Town, and they suggested we do it in South Africa, and they knew some people in the Eastern Cape Parks Board, so we went to talk to them, and that's where we met Jan Venter for the first time, and Jan pointed us towards the nature reserves on the Wild Coast, and that's what got it started.
Even though I'd taken a bunch of classes in the African Studies department and basically took a class on South Africa, well, the professors who went, still, I mean, you're kind of like, Africa, you know, like just that stupid white guy, what's going to happen feeling.
My name is Brian King. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Geography at Penn State. I've been involved with the Parks and People Study Abroad program for really 4 years now. Well, one of the things I've really enjoyed about the Parks and People Study Abroad program is I get to go first. So I get to go with the students in January when they first arrive in South Africa, and we go to Cape Town, and then we spend several days in Cape Town and then move east to the Eastern Cape, where the students in the program spend most of their time during the 10 weeks in South Africa. Because of the fact that I'm there initially, I really get to see kind of the first types of reactions that students have to the types of things that they're seeing, and students experience culture shock in a lot of different ways. Sometimes students have it right as soon as they arrive in South Africa. In other cases, because Cape Town is a fairly developed urban center, it's not until we go into the rural areas of the Eastern Cape where students see those folks from the villages wearing traditional dress or speaking Xhosa, that it begins to feel like they're in a very different kind of setting. And I really find that to be a wonderfully enriching and incredibly powerful learning experience, both for myself and also for the students.
I really liked working in the forest in South Africa. I almost felt like I was in a jungle, and it was also cool to be contributing to science. I learned a lot of valuable field techniques, which I think can really, I could put on a resume, or it could help me get an internship. And since we drove along the coast, it was really amazing to see that landscape. It looks a lot different than in Pennsylvania, obviously, and it was really beautiful. I can truly say that my heart is in South Africa, and I look forward to going back there again.
I think one of the things that makes Parks and People a really unique study abroad program is that students don't do one thing. They're exposed to a variety of different types of experiences that are academic. They're also research-based and intensive, and also involve a service and outreach. And those kinds of experiences kind of span the gamut of social and ecological types of activities, and that's a hallmark of Parks and People. We want students to be out of their comfort zones.
So, but it's probably good for you?
Harvesting. Yeah, it's all very good for you. Great source of protein, and if you want to get specific, you can squeeze out that web in their head, and then it's a little bit less bitter. Then it just tastes like sweet basil pretty much.
Okay.
They don't bite.
Doesn't really taste like anything.
Imagine a bird that eats.
You got to chew that.
It
tastes like a spice.
Goodbye vegetarianism.
Worst thing that
Everybody
happens.
try one more.
Yeah, it's kind of like it tastes like a vegetable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it tastes like cilantro or like something
Yeah.
like that.
Has everybody had? Wayne, would you like to try one?
Worst thing that happens is I get sick and I can't do any homework.
I haven't eaten the snouters. I
can't write my journal.
the A-legs.
Oh, those are big ones.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Though-
do.
I haven't tasted these
Everything
ones.
tastes like
Yeah,
parsnip
grab
sauce.
another one then.
I didn't expect it to be
It did
that
have a strong-
It's
it
such
did-
a
Yeah,
little
it's
thing.
quite strong, but it's mainly got like a herby kind of taste.
Yeah.
It's a very nice taste. So, I mean, an aardvark will come here. You know what an aardvark looks like, eh?
Yeah.
He'll scratch it open and he'll use his very long tongue
Get some left in.
and he'll pick up 10,000 at a time. He can on his tongue in one lick. So they'll rebuild that now.
My name is Petra Chuckert. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Geography, but also of the Earth and Environmental Systems Institute, EASY. And my role, and that's why I am part of this Parks and People program, is to try to work with the students through the interactions between the park, as it is delineated, and the communities around the park. And it's quite striking that the communities around the park are black communities, highly impoverished communities. And I have to say, even though I've worked in Africa for the last, 20 years now, it was shocking to me to see that level of poverty in a country that otherwise is quite flourishing. I'm used to see poverty in West Africa and East Africa, but the level, the extent to which it is present in and around the park was quite shocking to me. So my role is to introduce these these dimensions of injustice to the students who, at that point, by the time I arrive, have been in South Africa for about 5 or 6 weeks. By the time I get there, students are so eager to reach out to the communities, to get to know the communities, to work with the communities. And maybe with one group more so than with the other, there was almost a moment of panic, saying we do not have anything to give to the communities. We are not prepared. We have nothing to carry with us by the time we meet them. And so for me, this is an interesting observation to start with, because I think the students realize quite quickly that this is a different world out there. I think they realize that maybe more so than ever in their lives, they have seen lack of basic services, water, electricity, other infrastructure. And I think they also realize that they are in a position of responsibility, not because it's their fault that there is lacking infrastructure, but because of their presence. Most of our students are white. Most of our students are extremely privileged. So I think at that point, students realize they have a responsibility to not only interact with community members, but to have something valuable to offer. And that's a point that is extremely important, I think, for the students to reach. That notion of both privilege and obligation. So it's kind of an ethical commitment that students want to make to the communities around these parks. So you're asking about the concrete activities, what do we do? The first time we simply had to establish relationships of trust and establish a kind of a communication channel with the communities. And we were extremely blessed that several of the community members in Hwebe took us out for a walk, showed us their community, showed us the way they live, their houses, their fields, their access to the ocean, their access to the river, which for us was extremely illuminating. What we had to give in both cases was an activity with schools. There is an elementary school there, and kind of the lower level of a middle school or high school, middle school, I guess. And so the second time I went, maybe more so than the first time, the students had prepared a variety of activities on climate change. And for the students, it was, I think, a fabulous opportunity to share knowledge. it's always the same constraint. We do not have the possibility to share resources, even though the students or the schools or the teachers are lacking infrastructure, computers, desks, chairs. We just don't have that in our budget. What we can share, and I think what we should share, is the knowledge we have. And so the students prepared various maps. They prepared a globe around a balloon plastered with water and flour, I think. So made a globe. The school didn't have a globe. And yeah, organized a variety of learning activities that we could share. And I think it was a couple of hours, an entire morning or afternoon. I think what was most rewarding for the students there was to understand that even though English is spoken in South Africa and in the schools it's the official language, it was very hard for the students to communicate in English because the kids there just wouldn't understand the American accent, wouldn't understand the pace, the fastness of the American language. And I think students realized that there are various ways of communicating, not just through spoken English. And that realization, I think, opened up a whole new way of connecting to people who are so very different, but at another level, so very similar to us.
We've now run this for 3 years, and so there's a small group of students that have now been part of Parks and People. Most of them are still here on campus, so only a handful have actually graduated at this point. But of that small group that's graduated, we've had one person go back to Africa as a Fulbright scholar, and they're working with a legal NGO in Johannesburg. We've had one person go back as a graduate assistant, into graduate school in KwaZulu-Natal, and she's actually working back in those same nature reserves to do her graduate research. We have one person who's gone off to the Peace Corps. We've had several, actually while they were still here, but they were giving papers on their experience in national meetings. They were giving papers on the Parks and People experience. We've had several of the students go back to the Eastern Cape as field researchers for an NSF-funded research project that one of the faculty has. And we've had one person who actually hasn't graduated either, but she's been back a couple of times working in a cheetah educational facility as well. So a lot of the students that have been part of Parks and People have continued an interest in Africa afterwards.